All right, let's jump right into this. We're talking about a battle so brutal it was literally fought in a place they called the Swamp of Death. This is the story of the battles of Estero Bellaco, and trust me, it was an absolute turning point in South American history. So picture this. It's late April 1866. You've got two huge armies staring each other down across a swamp in Paraguay. On one side, you have the combined might of Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay. We're talking more soldiers, better weapons, the whole 9 yards. And on the other side, the Paraguayan army. They're outnumbered, outgunned, but they've got two things going for them. They're on their home turf, and they have this fanatical will to fight. To really get what's going on here, you have to understand the battlefield. This place, Estero Bellaco, wasn't just a backdrop. It was basically a third army in the fight. We're talking about a treacherous swamp fortress. Think about it, deep mud, a dense forest, and reeds so high, like 9 feet high, that you can't see a thing. This wasn't just an obstacle. For the Paraguayans, this was their single greatest defense. So on paper, this looks like a total mismatch, right? The Allies have way more troops, way more artillery, it should be a cakewalk. But the Paraguayan president Francisco Solano Lopez, he wasn't sweating it. Why? Because he knew the swamp itself was his ace in the hole. He was betting everything on that treacherous terrain to level the playing field. Okay, so this is where things get interesting. Most people would sit back and let the enemy come to them, right? Use that swampy fortress. But not Lopez. He decides to go on the offensive. He greenlights this incredibly daring surprise attack for May 2nd, with a single goal: just absolutely obliterate the Allied vanguard before they could even sound the alarm. And at first, man, it worked perfectly. The attack was like a lightning strike. 5,000 Paraguayan soldiers just burst out of the reeds and swarmed the Allied forward camp. General Flores, the guy in charge of the vanguard, his camp is completely overrun. We're talking several Uruguayan battalions just wiped out. They even managed to capture 4 modern Allied cannons, which they later nicknamed Flores's Pieces as a bit of a taunt. It was a huge success, but it was about to go very, very wrong. This is the classic blunder, right? Instead of grabbing their loot, those cannons, and pulling back to safety, the Paraguayan commander gets a little too confident. He pushes forward, deeper into Allied territory. And that was the fatal mistake. That overreach gave the main Allied army just enough time to regroup and flank them. Suddenly, what was a stunning victory turned into a desperate, bloody stalemate. The result was just horrific. Look at these numbers. About 2,300 casualties on both sides. So after all that fighting, all that incredible bravery and bloodshed, what was the outcome? Absolutely nothing. They were literally back in their original positions. A completely pointless slaughter. Okay, so the fighting stops, but the drama is just getting started. A huge crisis is about to blow up in the Allied High Command, and it all starts with a letter. General Venancio Flores, the commander who just got his vanguard smashed to pieces, writes this explosive private letter to his wife. And guess what? It gets leaked to the press. And Flores does not hold back. He points the finger directly at the top dog, the Allied commander-in-chief, General Mitra. He basically says, if you're looking for who's responsible for this mess, it's him. Only him. He's straight up accusing his boss of incompetence. He goes on to say that Miter is running the war like it's a game, moving pieces on a chessboard, totally detached from the bloody reality on the ground. You can just feel the contempt dripping from every word. He's furious that his men died because of what he sees as armchair generalship. And he uses this old saying, which basically means we came looking for a big win, and instead, we're the ones getting fleeced. This letter was an absolute bombshell. It revealed this massive crisis of confidence at the very top of the Allied command. And, that kind of internal conflict, it raises the stakes for everything that's about to happen next. So let's switch back to the Paraguayan side. Now, you'd think, after taking such a beating on May 2nd, President Lopez might be a little more cautious. But no, he's completely undeterred. In fact, he's about to make an even bigger, more fateful decision, a real all-or-nothing gamble. Okay, so check this out. The original plan his generals came up with was pretty brilliant, actually. It was a defensive ambush. Let the Allies wade into that swamp fortress, get stuck in the mud, and then send 10,000 guys through a secret path to hit them from behind. Genius, right? Well, Lopez takes that plan and throws it in the trash. His new plan: just abandon the defensive advantage completely and launch a massive, 3-pronged frontal attack against the entire Allied line. A complete 180. So you have to ask, why? Why abandon a perfectly good defensive strategy for this incredibly risky gamble? Well, Lopez claimed he learned that Mitre, the Allied commander, was planning to attack on May 25th. So Lopez figured he'd preempt them. He decided to strike on the 24th, trying to catch the Allies completely unprepared. And the plan itself was, well, it was ambitious to say the least. It was a three-pronged attack. You had General Barrios hitting the Allied left, General Diaz hitting the center, and General Reskin hitting the right. For this to work, everything had to be perfectly synchronized across a 3-mile front. The timing had to be flawless. So May 24th arrives. This was supposed to be Paraguay's moment of glory. Instead, it was the day their army died. So, what went wrong? Well, pretty much everything. The attack was supposed to kick off with a signal at 9 a.m., but the signal wasn't actually given until 11:30 a.m., a 2.5-hour delay. In that time, any element of surprise they might have had just completely vanished. By the time the battle ended at 4 p.m., the Paraguayan army was basically gone. That delay was absolutely fatal. It wasn't just one thing that caused the disaster. It was a cascade of failures. First, any chance of surprise was gone. Second, the Allied troops had superior modern rifles, while most of the Paraguayans were stuck with old flintlock muskets. Add to that, the devastating Allied artillery just tearing through their attacking columns. And to top it all off, they had to charge across open, swampy ground. It was a slaughter. That swamp literally became a killing field. There's this one horrific account of a Paraguayan battalion, made up mostly of new recruits, that was just completely annihilated by artillery fire before they could even get close enough to fight. Just erased. But here's the thing, even in this impossible situation, the Paraguayan soldiers showed this unbelievable, almost fanatical bravery. There's this one story of a wounded sergeant who's ordered to surrender his unit's flag. And instead of handing it over, he uses his last ounce of strength to tear it to shreds with his teeth. Just incredible defiance. So by the afternoon, it's all over. The attack has failed completely. And when the smoke clears, the true scale of the disaster for Paraguay is just, it's almost impossible to comprehend. The Paraguayans left 6,000 dead on the battlefield and had another 7,000 wounded. In a single afternoon, their army ceased to exist as an effective fighting force. So his army is in ruins. The battlefield is a graveyard. What does President Lopez do? He orders military bands to play through the night, and then he has his official government newspaper, the Semanario, declare the massacre a great and glorious victory. It's an absolutely chilling contrast between the grim reality and the official propaganda. And this really gets to the heart of it, right? It leaves you with this deeply unsettling question. How does a leader report a victory when his army has just been wiped off the map? The story of Estero Bellaco is more than just a battle. It's a powerful reminder of the devastating human cost of war, and maybe even more, the chilling power of propaganda to rewrite history, even as it's happening.